Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. I'm Cheryl Hentz, your host, and very pleased to welcome back tonight an old friend and a new friend. We've got with us two folks from the Oshkosh Area Humane Society. Cheryl Rosenthal is immediately to my right. I always have to look because your title is a long one. You are the Communications and Education Coordinator with the Oshkosh Area Humane Society. And joining us for the first time, but hopefully not the last, is Ieva Engel. And you are the new president of OAHS.
That's correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we should specify, this is not president of the board. You are president of the shelter.
That's correct, of
Right.
the organization, not
Okay.
of the board.
Okay, all right. So we were talking, you've been there since July 17th you started. So what, as president, what will your role be?
My role will be really to handle kind of the larger foundational aspects of moving the organization forward, such as growth, looking at change management, growing our fundraising, down the line, hopefully a new building. So managing the culture at the organization. So Jessica will still be doing the operations. She's our director of operations. She's handling all the day-to-day operations at the shelter.
Director of Operations, and that's
correct.
Jessica Miller.
That's correct.
Who took over last year when Joni Geiger retired. It was interesting. We did a show in mid to late August last year, and that's when she was on. So you mentioned new building at some point down the road. Why would you guys need a new building?
Running out of space.
Really? Wow.
Absolutely.
Would you be, when you say new building, would you, I know that this is very preliminarily, discussion here, but I mean, would you be in a position to be able to add on, or would you have to actually get someplace new?
I think we would have to look at where are we expanding to, because when we say that we're running out of room, the first example that comes into my head is we have our Walk for the Animals coming up, and I have nowhere to put all the prizes and baskets. We want to expand the programs that we offer to our community, and right now we have what we call the education room or community room, and we use that room for our staff meetings. We use that for testing dogs with cats. We use that for my Girl Scout or Boy Scout meetings, and that room is constantly, there isn't any wiggle room. That room is constantly in use, and it's hard to expand your programs when all you have is one room to work around. Yeah. So it isn't that we need space for more animals. I remember when we moved from Dempsey Trail to Shelter Court, we added one more dog kennel, and yes, we did expand the area for cats. But I think we're at a comfortable number for our organization, because the more cages and kennels that you have, the more animals people think you can take care of. So you want to look at your capacity for care, the number of staff that you need, but you also want to be able to have your building well organized. Is it functioning properly?
Yeah.
And I think Ieva has one plan in mind that I'm very excited about, and that's just inventories.
Absolutely.
And so, so having a new building doesn't mean that we want to take on more animals. I think what we're looking for is we want to improve what we already have and expand our services to the community.
Well, that totally makes sense. You guys are on Shelter Court, which is off of Doctor's Court. You've been out there for a lot of years. But you also own, wasn't it a car wash at some time?
It is a car wash.
Right there on Bowen Street. So you own that land. Would it be possible, and I know this is way down the road, but maybe not so far down the road, who knows, but would it be possible to build something there on that land or repurpose the existing structure for some of these other things while maintaining the current shelter itself for
possible? I'm not a contractor or
or an architect.
Or an architect. But those are, and here again, I think when you're venturing into something like this, you've got your feasibility studies, what the community will, be able to support, and it's kind of like I always tease at home that the best way to make my house bigger is to get rid of some of the junk I have that I'm not using. So maybe as we reorganize some things, there will be areas that we want to expand on a new building, and then there may be other areas that, wow, this is working just fine the way that it is.
Yeah. Well, that sounds exciting. And, as you know, Cheryl, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I was on the board for a number of years and did the newsletter for a number of years beyond that. But I was on the board when we did the feasibility study and we did the capital campaign and we got the funding to build where you guys are at right now. And it's such a beautiful building, and I think it works really well. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I would like to see you guys do something different.
Yeah. Well, and we also have
For whatever that's
to consider, as I said, I'm not an architect, but the building that we are in is old, and there are parts of it that need to be probably brought up to date.
Sure. How long has it been?
We moved there 2005.
Okay, so 17, 18 years.
Yeah.
So, okay, all right. Gosh, it doesn't seem like, where does the time go?
I don't know.
All right, well, let's talk about Walk for the Animals. This is your annual walk. It's called Light Up Their Lives this year. Take it away, Cheryl.
Okay.
Tell us all about it.
My pleasure. Walk for the Animals, it's been a long-standing annual event for the Oshkosh Area Humane Society, and the funds that are raised at this event go toward our basic medical care. And we came up with the theme, Light Up Their Lives, because there are so many animals, almost 100% of the animals coming to us need some type of medical care. Some of these animals have never been to a veterinarian, or they have not been to a veterinarian since they were a puppy or a kitten. And so when you're healthy and you feel good, your lights go on. And so we want to light up their lives, and we want people to donate to light up their lives so that we can provide that medical care. Every animal that comes into the shelter is treated as an individual. We look at what their needs are, and we cover not just their medical needs, but also their physical needs. But this walk concentrates on raising money for our basic medical fund.
And how much are you looking to raise?
We're hoping to raise $50,000. Which is less than half of what we normally spend on our basic medical. But we're counting on our community to be excited about reaching our goal and surpassing it. It's going to be on Saturday, September 16th from 8:30 to 11. We're going to stuff a lot of fun things into that time. We have we're having our basket raffle where we have a barn quilt, we have a men's watch, we have some pet supplies, a lot of neat things that are going to be on the basket raffle, so you can come and buy raffle tickets. Todd Kronkstad, I think I said his name, Kronkstrom, who is with the bar. He's going to be spinning records for us, being our DJ like he did last year, and he was so much fun to have on board. We have our crafters, our Oshkosh Area Humane Society crafters are going to be there selling their wares, as well as Crafters for a Cause. And these people have handmade things that they sell, and the majority of the proceeds all go to the shelter. Compassion Catering is going to be there, and we're hoping that Dauntless Soul Coffee is going to have a coffee and their smoothies there. So and that's in addition to coming and walking as a group, showing your support of the shelter and your love for animals. And we encourage everybody to dress bright, be a light.
And and if you dress brightly, you'll be cooler too. Hopefully so. And does this take place rain or shine?
Rain or shine.
Okay.
And it's going to be at the expo, at the Winnebago County Expo area. We're in Barn E.
Barn E.
And it's really a lovely place to hold our event. we usually were inside the building, and we have found that the barn is just as wonderful, and it's more casual, and the dogs that are attending or people that are bringing their pets to the event are much more comfortable because it's more of a casual setting.
Sure.
So we have a lot of fun. And
And-
of course, we'll have our wheel, our prize wheel there also.
All right.
So
How
lots of
far
fun.
is the walk?
It's about 1 mile.
Okay.
It isn't very long. To me, the walk is more about camaraderie and being, with people that have similar aspirations when
Sure,
it comes to
sure.
animals.
And, I think the point should be made also that if someone does not have a pet, but still supports the shelter and its causes and its programs and mission, you can still raise money. You can still go and walk. You don't have to walk. You can just raise money.
Right.
If you go out to the shelter, they've got these brochures along with the sign-up sheet and, the pledge form. There's an envelope here.
Yep, it's also on our website.
Yep, it's
and,
on there.
People don't, a lot of times people think, well, I don't have a dog to walk. And it's like, you don't need to have a dog to walk. All you have to do is care about animals and want to be, I've never once I've been able to take my dogs. And I just love spending the morning visiting with everybody else's dog.
Well, you've got a lot to do on those days. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I've never walked is because I used to have far too much to do during that day.
Right.
And so,
Yeah. So we hope that we'll have a good turnout and we'll raise the money to light up their lives.
so 8:30 to 11. What time is the actual walk?
The walk will be at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, okay.
We will have probably Ieva will do a welcome, and I'm sure that Todd will have some great song to kick off the walk itself. And then after that, they'll announce people. They'll thank people that raised high amounts. We'll announce the amount that's been raised,
Sure.
and then we'll also announce the winners of the basket raffle
Yeah.
and any other raffles that we may have. We're still kind of in the planning stages,
Sure. So again, that's on Saturday, September 16th, out at the Sunnyview Expo Center in Barn E by the grandstand. And you can go on the shelter's website for more information, or you can stop by and pick up a brochure and a pledge form and so forth. Or you can just donate
Right.
money on your own.
Right.
And
If they go to our website, our brochure is on the website, or there is a pledge form that they can download from
All right.
the website also.
how much did you raise last year? Do you know offhand? Do you remember?
Oh my gosh. I know it was over the 50,000.
Okay.
Exactly what it was, I
All
don't
right.
remember.
And I think, too, the point should be made just very quickly that, just because it's the Oshkosh Area Humane Society, yes, you have a contract with the city to pick up strays, so on and so forth, but the little bit of money that the city pays for those contractual services it's a drop in the bucket when it comes to your budget.
Yeah, it's, do you know, it's less than 10%. Because our operating costs right now are 1.7 million.
Wow.
Closer to 1.8. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Either way, that's a lot of money,
Yeah.
And that covers salaries, insurance, costs to maintain and insure the building, and everything else that you guys do. So that's a lot of money. But when you look at everything that you do, I think that's a reasonable amount. But it just means that they need every dime and every penny and every dollar that you can afford to either give or raise. All right, so let's talk about the new Canine Crusaders volunteer program. This is something you guys are introducing to A, increase adoptions, and ease stress in the shelter. So do you want to talk about
yes,
that?
Yes, I can talk about that
Right.
a little bit here. The Canine Crusaders, the impetus for that idea was to work with all of our dogs, especially the ones who have been there for a long time, in easing their stress and also increasing the positive and good behaviors. It's difficult for these dogs. Some of them have been there for a long time. They get anxious and they get nervous and they don't always let their best dogginess shine when adopters come
Yes.
by. And so it's very difficult. It's really changed in the last couple of years, the kind of dogs we get in. And some of the issues they have with anxiety, separation anxiety, not being socialized appropriately. And so it really does take a village, and it takes dedicated folks to be working with these dogs. Each of the dogs will have an action plan that a volunteer or a team of volunteers will be responsible for. Will involve training based on what the dog needs to be worked on, what it basic manners, maybe anxiety, and so on. And we'll be evaluating these dogs on an ongoing basis. Is it working? If it's not working, what can we be doing differently for them? And it's just to make them be happier dogs while they're waiting for their...
Sure. How does that differ from the way you guys are doing things right now?
I think we do have staff and we do have volunteers working with these dogs. However, it's a larger group of volunteers and staff. The staff will still be there working with the dogs on an ongoing day-to-day basis, but it's the volunteers who will kind of own that dog,
Right.
will be the crusader for that dog.
I think what we're looking for the dogs is consistency. When animals are in an animal shelter, yes, we walk the dogs every morning and we walk them every afternoon, and people take them out in midday, they're out for walks, but there's no, that routine can vary. Or the person that they're working with varies. And I'm not saying that that's a wrong thing, but maybe even in your own dog, if I take my dog outside and play with him, it's not going to be the same as if Ieva would come to my house and dog sit for me. It's not the same. And so it's helping. I think one of the biggest struggles for dogs in a shelter, and oftentimes people ask me, well, when you come to speak, can you bring a pet with you? And I never do that because they're afraid. They don't have, animals that are in shelters don't have the bond of their family. When you think about your family, you can, I see my dog do it all the time. We'll go someplace and he's always looking up at me like, are we okay? Are we okay? Dogs that are in a shelter don't have that. They've lost who and what they belong to. And I think, and some dogs do better in shelter settings than others.
Yeah.
And I think by having this program, there will be more consistency in the training procedures that are going on, and also with the people that they will be seeing. To hopefully make them more comfortable.
When are you rolling this program out, or is it already?
We've already rolled it out. We've asked for volunteers to help us out.
All right.
We already have quite a few applications from volunteers who are interested in dedicating this time. It is a time commitment, and
Sure.
and so.
Can you explain a little bit more in detail what we're expecting of these volunteers?
Absolutely. We're looking, I think, at this point, and this may change as it evolves, but we're looking at about 1 to 2 hours 3 times a week. We know that many of our volunteers do work. Some have full-time jobs, and so they still want to be very involved, but they cannot take the lead. So we will be combining and letting volunteers tag team and having smaller teams that work on these dogs.
Okay.
So we'll do the same diligent matching that we do for adopters. We'll do the same with the volunteers and the dogs.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good plan. Okay. So if people want to volunteer, they should reach out to you guys. And we're going to talk about other things that the shelter needs, besides money, of course. Besides money, homes, and volunteers. And we've got the website that we will be putting up throughout the show. If you're listening to this on radio, the shelter's website is oahs.org, O-R-G. So, and I'll try and remember to say that a few times throughout the show. So, talk to me about your Shy Cat program. What is that all about?
Our Shy Cat program is cats that are brought into us that are very reclusive, that don't respond well to humans. They are mostly cats that have either been not socialized at all or are under socialized. It's one of the things that we would be doing with let's say that we get these calls all the time. I have a stray cat in my yard, had a litter of kittens, and they bring them in. The kittens are young enough that they can be socialized and placed into homes. But if they have not been exposed, the socialization period for kittens is between 2 and 7 weeks of age. And if they are not well socialized with human beings, people that wear silly hats, people that wear glasses, men, children that are playing, children that are being loud, dogs that are barking, other kittens, they are going to be more reclusive. They're not going to, come running up to you and say, "Hi, pet me." And so our Shy Cat program works with these animals. And with cats, the best way to start out working with them is with food. Dogs work for food. Cats sometimes will work for food. Sometimes you have to find the right kind of food. So we often just start by, when we feed the cats, we stay in the room with them, and they become comfortable and they start associating, "Oh, you're part of the food. You're part of the food." And then you gradually move the food closer to you, and so on and so forth. And during that time, you're just being quiet with them. You can play with them, but you want to be really non-threatening. And it's kind of like with some of these animals, it's like all of a sudden a light goes on that, "Oh wow, I kind of like having you scratch my cheeks or rub my back," or whatever. And the important part of the Shy Cat program is to make sure that some of this is, it can be generalized. There are some cats that are more apt. I have a cat like this. She only likes me. But if you're there long enough, she will come over and let you pet her.
Okay.
But she's not as comfortable with you as she is with me. So these types of cats won't always be necessarily really outgoing. And then there are some that we are pleased as punch when they become very outgoing and really make that connection that people are good.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a work in progress, and we have some very dedicated staff and volunteers to this program, and it's very, very rewarding to be able to take these cats and kittens and place them into new homes where they'll be loved for the rest of their lives.
Sure. I thought I had this question on my list, but I can't seem to find it. But you mentioned about cats, outdoor cats.
Mm-hmm.
If someone comes across an outdoor cat, it's constantly running loose, so on and so forth. Should people be feeding it? Should they be letting it stay outdoors? Should they be bringing it into their home to try and give it shelter from the elements? What should a person be doing when it comes to cats?
That's a good question. There's two theories with this. There are some theories where leave the cat alone, it'll go home. I personally would not be able to do that. I'd have to go out there and rescue the cat. In some instances, first of all, I think it's important for people to understand, if you are a pet owner, if you're a cat owner, in the city of Oshkosh and many cities and municipalities, it is against the law to let your cat roam free. So there's a leash law.
And people think it's very common. Oh, it's okay if the cat's outside.
Right,
Cats are meant
right.
to be outdoors,
Right.
or they're half the time indoors and half outdoors.
But then my argument is exposure to fleas and to other diseases and getting in fights with other cats, being attacked by dogs,
being picked up by
by
birds
a hawk,
of prey.
Right, birds of prey.
Yep.
So there's all kinds of reasons. But primarily, I guess if I saw a cat that kept coming to my yard, the first thing that I would do is I would go door to door and say, take a picture of it. Everybody's got a cell phone these days. Take a picture of that cat and go around to your neighbor and say, "Is this your cat? Is this your cat? Is this your cat?" And if it's not your cat, you are within your rights to live trap that cat and make arrangements to bring it into the shelter. Mm-hmm. And then to assess the cat to find out whether it's friendly or not. There are cats that they'll rub around your legs, but when you try to pick them up, they become all fight. There's not every cat wants to live or has been born to live in a house.
Right.
And sometimes those cats, but we still want to see those cats and spay and neuter them and what we call return to field, or return to field. And that animal has the opportunity to live out for that animal what is a normal, healthy life. If you see that an animal is injured or is acting sickly or looks emaciated, again, I would try to live trap that cat. But the biggest, Cheryl, as also the cat consultant at the shelter, my mantra always is the biggest threat to indoor cats are cats that are outside. Because cats will come up to your windows, to your doors. Your inside cat can feel threatened. They may feel territorial, and they may start marking inside the house or beating up on one of their housemates. There are problems that can be brought about when there are stray cats outside. And as far as my best advice, I guess, would be if you have a stray cat in your neighborhood, to contact our admissions department and tell us what the situation is and what is the best path to take. But I would definitely go around to my neighbors and say, have you seen a cat? Have you seen a cat? And we had a cat in our neighborhood, and nobody, it kept hanging around and hanging. This was years ago, and finally we were unable to take it in ourselves, and so I took it to the shelter, and he got adopted.
Well, there you go. A happy ending for
And I think
that
it's-
cat and your own household
Right.
pets.
And I think it's important to know that anytime a stray animal is brought into our shelter, we have a page on our Facebook. It's Strays of Oshkosh. And so whether it's a cat or a dog or a bird, if it comes into us as a stray, we post that animal's picture on our stray page on Facebook, not on our regular Facebook page. And it's important for people to understand that those animals that are posted there are not for adoption. Those are animals we are trying to help them find their way home.
Sure.
And that brings us to, collars and microchips.
Yes.
So,
So again, it's Strays of Oshkosh. That's the name of the Facebook page.
I believe it is.
Or something like
Strays of
that.
Oshkosh or Oshkosh Strays.
Okay. But it is not, and you don't put them on your website either?
No.
Okay. Just on this particular Facebook page.
Right, just on the stray page.
Okay.
So we're hoping that when people lose their pet, one of the first things they should do is contact the Humane Society or their local animal shelter. I always encourage people to also contact Lost Dogs of Wisconsin.
Yes.
Because they will also do, I believe they also do cats and other animals.
Yes.
Call the police department and tell them that your animal is missing. And you can take out an ad in the paper. I believe the listings in the Northwestern are free. Have a picture of your animal and hit the sidewalk and bug your neighbors.
Well, and the other thing is, if your pet is microchipped, a lot of microchip companies, I can't say all of them because I don't know all of them, but I do know that there are a number of companies with whom you can register a microchip, and if you contact them that your pet has gone missing, they will help you in that search.
Awesome.
You provide them with a picture, or if you already have it, like my dogs have their pictures on the microchip page, and so
Right.
if I were to say, hey, so-and-so's gone missing, they just automatically would print that picture. That's why it's important to keep the picture current, and then they would distribute it. And, it's another way to help your
Right.
pet find its way
Absolutely.
back home.
And the most important thing, too, is don't give up. A lot of times people only look for a couple of days. And cats especially, they become very frightened. They usually don't go far. Sometimes they're hiding right under your own porch or in a shed or the neighbor's garage or whatever. And they don't go very far. Or maybe somebody has taken them in thinking, oh my gosh, you poor thing, not realizing that you're looking. So I just encourage people, keep asking, keep asking.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the road construction that is, it created a havoc for you guys for many months. Thank God it's now over. It created problems for some time. People didn't even know from day to day how to get to the shelter. How have things changed now that the roads are open?
I think our traffic has definitely improved as far as coming to the
Absolutely.
shelter. It, even for staff, it's like,
Didn't know how to get to work.
Absolutely.
No, because you would be told, oh, you can go this way or that way, and then you get there and, oh, no, I can't go that way, and then here you are
Yeah.
trying to maneuver. And we really give kudos out to our clients that came for we do cat nail trims on certain days, and kudos to those pet owners who managed to find their way to get their cat's nails trimmed. So it really was a very trying time, but it was something that needed to be done. And now that it's over, I think there's on our sign by the car wash there, it says, celebrate Bowen Street is finished.
There you go. There you go.
So
One thing I think is true of shelters across the country and rescue operations as well. There has just been a huge influx of animals. And, maybe it started with COVID, maybe it started before, but whatever caused it and whenever it started, you guys have probably more animals than I think I've ever seen. Do you have any current statistics? And if not, that's okay. But
well, I can tell you that, let me see here. Since January 1st, we have taken in 1,457 animals. And that's in addition, you have to remember, at the end of the year, we've got probably 200 and some animals still remaining at the shelter. So now between January and August, we took in an additional 1,457. We've adopted out 709 animals in that time. We have reunited 156 animals with their guardians. And we have done 471 TNRs.
Trap,
neuter,
rescue?
Trap, neuter, return.
Trap, neuter, return. Okay.
Yeah, trap, neuter, return. At the current time, Cheryl, we have 241 animals in our care. 173 cats, 50 dogs, 6 rabbits, and 12 smalls. And smalls are your guinea pigs, your hamsters, your mice, rats, whatever. Right now I know we got a couple of cute little mice that are looking for homes.
50 dogs and 173 cats. That should blow anyone's mind.
Oh, well,
You know?
I guess it doesn't blow my mind because the building that we are functioning in can comfortably hold 150 cats. And 74 of these cats are in foster. In fact, I think 74, well, there's 50 some that are kittens, because this is kitten season time.
Yes, yes.
So when I started here back in, I'm not going to tell you how long.
A long time.
1997, no, 7 or something like that. Whenever I did a program, I would talk about we see 4 times as many cats as we do dogs. We now see more than 4 times as many. So our cat numbers have always been high, but I think our dog numbers are high right now because of the type of dogs that we're getting in. We're seeing longer lengths of stay. I don't want to say that we're not finding the best fit for these dogs. And I think you would agree we're not going to settle for second best.
And that's as it should be.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to end up with people who feel like they've made a mistake and they resent the animal and the situation. They may end up returning the animal to you guys, which is a contractual obligation that people do need to return the animals to the shelter if you get one and for whatever reason can't keep it. But I think people sometimes think, well, I'll just rehome it. And then you don't know where that animal, you have to be able to track the animal.
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
that
so.
that has slightly changed at our shelter as far as you have to bring the animal back. I prefer to let people know that, and that brings me to our rehoming page. At the age of 15, I would not want to bring my dog back to the shelter at the age of 15. But if something happened to me that I wouldn't be able to care for him, I would want to be able to place him. And so we're not making it an ulterior, you have to bring your animal back.
So it has
but
changed.
if you're
So
if you're
that's-
comfortable placing your animal on your own, and we try to give some guidance as to, I always tell people, look at our adoption form and use that. If I'm going to let you have my digger, I want you to fill out this form and tell me who you are. And so and sometimes people move away and they can't return the animal to us. So,
Yes,
but if
that's a good
people
point.
absolutely positively are not, they don't know for behavioral reasons or whatever, if they're going to return the animal to any shelter, return it to the shelter you got it from, and we will always take them back. Sometimes we may not have room. We've run into that earlier this year, and I think part of that was because we weren't seeing a lot of traffic, again because of the problem with the construction on Bowen Street. But we always try to, take those that we have adopted out
Sure.
back.
We talked a little bit about this before, but helping strays, if we have an animal that goes missing, a pet that goes missing, helping them find their way back home. Licensing, which in the city of Oshkosh is a requirement, and it doesn't cost that much to license a pet. If your pet is spayed or neutered, dogs or cats, I don't think they require licenses for rabbits or things like that.
No.
But for dogs and cats, the city does require that. And if the dog or cat is spayed or neutered, it's $5 for the year. I mean, come on. And if
Right.
it's not spayed or neutered, I think it might be 15. I'm not sure on that.
I'm not sure
But
about that either.
the point is, get your pet spayed and neutered. It's good for the pet, and it's good for pet overpopulation and reducing it. So having them licensed, microchipped, name tags with cell numbers on them. Some people like to put their address on them too, but a lot of people, we live in kind of a mobile society, and people move. If you don't mind getting a different tag if you move, that's fine, but people don't tend to be changing their cell phone numbers the way maybe they once did,
Right.
because now you can take that number with you wherever you go.
Yeah, right.
And so having cell numbers on those name tags is
Yeah.
a good thing. And of course, the dog's or cat's name,
Right.
that's important. Other things that people can do?
Well, the important thing about the tag is you need to have a collar and have it on the cat or the dog.
Yes. Yes.
I've over the years I've taken many calls that is your dog or cat wearing a collar? Well, I just gave them a bath and I took their collar off, and then they shot out of the house. So that's where microchipping does come in. I personally, Cheryl, I'm going to be real honest. My dogs do not have their name on their tags. I unfortunately had a dog stolen one time, and he did have his name on his tag. And so my dogs all wear a tag that says "I'm lost," and it gives my name, our name, our phone number, and our address. But I don't give the name simply because if you know my dog's name and he's a really friendly, sweet dog, and this dog was. All you had to do was open the car door, and he'd go with you anywhere. And so it's a personal preference, but it's something that I suggest to people. If you want to put your dog's name on there, that's fine. I just know that my dogs all come fairly well to their name, and once you know their name, I must know you. It's
That's
like,
a really good point. Thank
Yeah.
you for bringing that up.
yeah, if you're in the grocery store, let's say that Ieva is shopping, and I go, "Hi, Ieva," and you're like, "Oh, I should know her. Do I know
Sure,
her?"
absolutely.
And well, I must know her, so I strike up a conversation, and that's an easy way. And so with dogs, you know my name.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So
I think
here
that's a
again,
really
and it
good
doesn't
point.
and it doesn't work with cats. So put their name on there if you want, but but there are some
some
people.
cats, though.
Some cats do come
Yeah.
to their name, and that is a personal preference. That is nothing that it's something that I learned from another organization that I came across, and I really like the idea of that, especially after our,
I like it now too.
yeah,
Yeah.
after the incident that I had. And by the way, the dog that was stolen, I got back.
Thank you.
So.
That's good. Okay, let's talk about surrenders, because I know, as you and I have talked a few times over the course of the last few months, the shelter, at least at that time, was you had a wait list for people who were needing, for whatever reason, to surrender their pet. Do you still have a wait list?
I do not believe we
I don't think we do at this point.
Okay.
at this point
We've
we
had a
don't.
few
We may
surrenders this
have a wait list for out of town.
Okay.
Because we need to be able to service our area first.
Sure.
And we always ask people to please consider, if you have a shelter in your area, surrender to your area shelter. And sometimes, again, I have had comments that, well, I don't like my local shelter. And here again, I just encourage people, if you don't like what your local shelter is doing or how they're conducting business, go to them and tell them what you're unhappy with and support them, because change can't happen if they don't know
Sure.
what they're doing. that
That's
you
true
don't
of any
like.
place.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
if you don't hear anything to the contrary, then you think everything is
Yeah,
running
we're doing
along
everything great,
just
and-
great, and
yeah.
everything's copacetic.
Yeah.
You know,
So sometimes we get a hiccup with out of town surrenders that we may have to wait. But right now, things have gotten a little bit better. That
That's
we
very
should
good
be
news.
able to
Very good news.
take in people as needed. We are seeing an increase in stray dogs, and we are also seeing an increase in owner surrenders, and some of it is due to the economy, the cost, just the cost alone of owning a pet, medical costs, which I know you want to talk a little bit more later on. We've seen a huge increase in the number of people that are being evicted and having problems finding affordable housing.
Pet-friendly, affordable housing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, affordable housing, whether you have a pet or not, I think it's very difficult in Oshkosh to find affordable housing. Everybody says, oh, you know, well, this is the going rate. Well, it may be the going rate, but it's not affordable. And there's the difference, you know. But that's another whole thing. Don't even get me started on that. But there are places that will take, you know, they accept pets. There are places that, you know, there's one in particular that I believe is putting in a dog park on their property. But, you know, again, whether or not these places are affordable, I don't know.
Yeah, it's difficult right now to be a pet owner.
When people are surrendering their pets, you know, trying to, there's a number of reasons why, I'm sure. But, you know, I guess I don't think people understand what that does to a pet when they go from a loving home into a situation where they don't know anybody, they don't know anything, new smells, new sights, new sounds, new everything, and it just creates havoc with them. And it would be so much easier, and we are blessed in this area to have some very good trainers. So if people are surrendering because of a behavioral problem, I guess I would encourage, and I think you ladies would agree, you know, try to get to the root of the problem before you just surrender a family member.
Right. Again,
You know, we don't know why they're surrendering it, but
well, we ask, and most people, I feel that most people are truthful.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that's another cost involved, is to get to, you know, hire a behaviorist or
That's
have,
true.
you know, because we're a resource center for that. If somebody says, I need to get help for my dog or whatever. And our job, I always look at my job is to help animals, but I can't help the animal until I help the person who's associated with that animal.
Right.
And I think when people get to the point where they want to surrender, I don't think this is something that they woke up one morning and said, I want to surrender my dog, or I'm getting rid of the cat. I think it's something that has built up over time. For example, the cat missed its box today. Well, we had a lot of company yesterday, so maybe that was why. And then, it happens again, or it happens again. Or a dog, chews up things or whatever. And then the dog comes and licks your face and all is forgiven. And then this goes on for maybe weeks, maybe months, maybe years. And the person thinks that they can tolerate it. And then it just comes to, I can't do this anymore. And as difficult as I know it may be for the pet and the person, I sometimes think in some cases it's a good decision to surrender the animal.
Yeah, every single situation is different.
Yeah.
If people are surrendering because they can't afford food, you guys have a wonderful food bank at the shelter, and people can come and get food to feed their pet. You certainly don't require any proof of income or anything like that. It's there if people need it.
We ask, what kind of pets you have, how old are they, whatever, and we give you what we can. Because here again, we have to take care of the pets that are already under our care, and so we do have our food pantry. And oftentimes people will say, well, do you have cat litter? And very seldom on our pantry do we have cat litter. But we'll certainly give you all the cat food that you need, or, canned cat food or whatever.
Yeah.
And we try to give based on what people tell us. We try to do like a month's supply so that people don't have to come week after week.
Sure. Well, we're down to about 11 minutes, and I can't even believe that the time has flown by. So I want to touch on something that is very important going on right now. If people are not aware of it, there is a huge shortage of veterinarians in this country, certified vet techs, even receptionist staff, and other support staff in veterinary offices. This is a very real problem, and it's a really big problem. And so there are several things that can be done from a pet owner's perspective. Let's talk about some of those things.
Okay.
Should we talk about a vaccination clinic?
Yes. We have been offering low-cost vaccination clinics. The big stickler for me, and this comes from me being the education coordinator at the shelter for a number of years, is it is so very important that if you don't do anything else, please, 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 please make sure that your pets, your cats, your dogs are current on their rabies vaccinations. Because rabies vaccinations are a state law for dogs. They are a city and municipality law in the city of Oshkosh and many other surrounding areas. And if a cat or a dog should bite or scratch or break skin, and you have to go to the hospital or you have to go to the doctor, that is to be reported. And if your pet is not current on its rabies vaccination, your pet then has to be quarantined at a veterinarian clinic for 10 days. And if your cat or dog is current on their vaccinations, you can do the quarantine within your own home, which is not as costly. Your pet still has to go for 3 vet visits within the 10 days to verify that they are not showing any signs of rabies or whatever. But when you have to quarantine off-site, if your pet is not current on its rabies vaccinations, the boarding cost of that, And the fact, and I always remind people, it isn't just that they're not current on rabies. Your dog bites somebody or scratches somebody, they can sue you.
Yes. And we live in a very litigious society.
Right. So whenever I do my educational programs with Girl Scouts or whoever, and the parents are there, I oftentimes try to do it on the side because, yes, I want people to have their animals vaccinated against other diseases and to make sure that they get a wellness visit once a year. But if you feel that you can't afford to do that, find yourself a low-cost one of our clinics, or there's other clinics, there's other places that have these clinics.
Yes.
Make sure that your pet is current on its rabies vaccination so that you don't have the heartbreak of telling your child or your spouse the dog has to be quarantined, and that quarantine can cost you $1,000 or more. And so a rabies vaccination, the office call and the rabies shot, heck fire, I think that's a pretty cheap investment to keeping your pets safe.
Well, and I know you've got a clinic coming up probably sometime in September.
Yes.
But, just to confirm that, go to their website, oahs.org, and the information will be there. And, when it is, what time it is.
Right. It's
all that
usually
kind of
on a
thing.
Sunday, and it usually is from 10 until 1:30 or 12:30, the last person. You need to sign up, but it's usually on our front page, and then they can click on that, and it'll take them to another page that will give them all the information.
Well, along with that, there are certain things that you guys can't do from a medical standpoint. And so it's so important that people establish a relationship with a veterinarian. There are some vets. First of all, I am currently working on a story for the Oshkosh Herald and the Neenah News. It's it's a little bit out yet, but I am working on it, on the veterinarian and support staff shortage in this area. I'm going to be having someone come on. We'll be taping a show on October 19th, and I'll be having some folks from the veterinarian community, at least one, will be coming on to talk about this very real, very serious problem. And in my doing some research on this, there are some vets in this area who simply cannot take on any new clients. If you are an existing client and you adopt a new pet, they will see that pet. But if you don't have a current relationship with them and you're adopting a pet, it may be tough finding that vet that you used to have, if it's been a while since you've had a pet, or if this is your first pet, it may be tough finding a vet.
You need to call around and see who's accepting, new patients.
And there are some that are.
Right. Right.
But I know I encountered some who are not. And so and one of the things that I found too is they are doing more triage over the phone. So you call up, you say, my dog has this skin condition. Well, they may want you to submit some pictures, so that they can determine if this is something that they can provide treatment for safely, from a medical standpoint, that they can provide treatment for by simply prescribing something and you come and you pick that up, or does the pet need to be seen? And I think it's important that people understand it's not that these veterinarians are being jerks or that they don't care.
Right.
They very much care, but they just simply cannot handle the load.
Yeah.
They just can't.
Precisely.
And so they're trying to do more of this over the phone. And it's not telemedicine like in the human world, but they are trying to do more triage over the phone so that they can keep those spaces available for the pets who absolutely need to be seen. Maybe they were hit by a car. Maybe they have something else going on that's really significant. And so I think if everybody, A, has an established relationship with their pet, they're patient with the vets when we do have them, and we just try and go along with this scenario that we're finding ourselves in right now.
Right. It's difficult.
Because it's frustrating for them too. It's, just like it's frustrating for pet owners. You know, do you want to say anything else about, you know, establishing a veterinary relationship?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
I just think it's, you know, if you're thinking about getting a pet, that would be where I would start. Because I would hate to, you know, I always feel terrible for people that, you know, my pet is sick and I can't do anything. And unfortunately, we also cannot do anything. We do have a veterinarian on staff, but our veterinarian is only licensed
For
to
you.
treat animals that are under our care. And we can't, you can't surrender your animal and then have us treat it and then us give it back to you. That isn't how it's set up.
Right, right.
And so it breaks our heart when we get these calls, and we try to help people, you know, well, have you called here? Have you called here? Have you, you know, tried Blue Pearl? But I know even the emergency room clinic up in Appleton is just...
They're
slammed.
understaffed and overworked too.
right.
So, you know, and it's not just for vaccinations. We're talking heartworm preventative, you know, and annual wellness visits, all these different things. You know, some of the vets that I talked with said that they at one time were asking people to make appointments for annual exams 6 to 8 months in advance. And
Mine's a year.
So-
and here again,
there you go.
this is,
See?
you know, think of your own annual exams that we should be doing with our doctors, with our medical doctors. When I go, and I'm going next week, I know the first thing she's going to say is, do you want to meet the same time next year? And they put me in the book. And get in the habit of doing, when you get your hair cut, you make your next appointment. If you have a dog that is groomed, I have a dog that gets groomed, I make an appointment, and then I go, well, let's make the appointment right away to make sure that you have that.
Yeah.
You know, nobody knows what's going to happen, and we don't, and unfortunately we don't know when our pets are going to be sick, but to have that wellness exam, at least
Yes.
on the books,
Yep.
that keeps you in the running with your veterinarian, knowing
Absolutely.
that.
All right. Well, we are out of time. So if you're looking to help the shelter and the animals that it serves, you can consider fostering, whether it be for dogs or cats. You can donate money. You can also go to their website, again, at oahs.org. They have a wish list there of items that they are always looking for, things like bleach and paper toweling and you name it, and they need it. But go there. If you want to help in any way possible, please go to their website, utilize it. It's a wonderful resource, as are they, and help them in any way that you can. And don't forget, Saturday, September 16th of this year, just a month and a half away, not even quite, Sunnyview Expo Center, Barn E by the grandstand. Walk for the animals and help light up their lives. So that's going to do it. Congratulations on the new position.
Thank you very
Appreciate it
much.
very much. You're coming
you.
on, especially kind of being thrown into the mix here so quickly. And
Thank
Cheryl,
you
it's
for
always a
having us.
pleasure having
Yes.
you on. So
Thank you, and I'm sorry I hogged all the time.
That is perfectly fine. I'm quite happy about it.
she's
Cheryl.
getting her feet wet.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you again to my guests, and thank you to the crew. And most of all, thank you to you. We will see you next time. Until then, take good care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.
Clear.
Okay, all right.
Yay!
All right.
I don't hear any music. So are we clear for sure?
Just